Hello, everybody. So this is a video that I've wanted to do for a while, but have been a little hesitant to do because if you're like me and you believe that in order to put good content out into the world, you have to do it in a way that is authentic, which means you have to talk about things you know. And in order for me to do a video about anxiety and depression, I would have to admit to having anxiety and depression. So you might understand why it's been a while as I've thought through doing this video. What I want to do is I want to talk about 10 ways to deal with anxiety and depression. But these are the 10 ways that if you go out and you read any book or you search on Google, that you'll find just as easily as I found that I have tried and have had some success with. But I'm going to close the video with 4 things that I think are unique to me, at least, in how I've learned to deal with anxiety and depression, and then share those with you so that you have what are considered to be the most common ways of dealing with this, and then some maybe a little bit more unique ways. I mean, let's face it, no one is happy all the time. For some of us, the battle with anxiety and depression is greater than others. And if you're an entrepreneur, you probably deal with a lot of anxiety and could potentially be dealing with depression as you're dealing with the roller coaster of the life of an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs not only have to battle the market they're in, but they have to battle the voices within. When you're having a good day, you can feel like you're on cloud 9. When you're having a bad day, it can feel like the world is against you. And especially with everything that's been going on in the world, these stresses have compounded. So let's start with 10 commonly accepted, I don't want to say treatments, things that you can do to help you deal with anxiety and depression. Number 1 is get adequate sleep. This has actually been a big one for me, and it took multiple steps to figure out what the core problem was. I would often have trouble falling asleep at night, and I'd call it like monkey brain because I'd always be thinking. And what it turned out to be after multiple tests and then a sleep study was that my body had a hyper reaction to any amount of caffeine. So although I was only drinking 1 cup of coffee around like 6 a.m. in the morning, come 10 o'clock at night, my body was still reacting to it. And that the caffeine itself had compounding effects with both my inability to sleep and creating anxiety and irritability, which when you're anxious all the time and you're irritable all the time, you don't have good personal relationships, then you don't sleep, then you're always behind the 8 ball. That can lead to depression. So conquering sleep to me, conquering sleep sounds like I've won that battle, but acknowledging the importance of sleep and diving into the exact reasons for not sleeping were a big part of my process of dealing with anxiety and depression. Now, when it comes to sleeping more, it's all about setting a schedule. This could be kind of a combination of number 1 and 2, that when you set a schedule and you stick with it, especially as an entrepreneur, and especially in times where most or many people are working from home a lot, that it's easy to get out of schedule, and it takes a good, strong, solid schedule to have a normalized flow to your workday. And violating that can create stress and anxiety. So getting your sleep under control will help. Finding out the root cause of why you may not be sleeping well, important, whether it's a bed, it's a pillow, it's caffeine, it's other things that you're doing. All of this leads to getting up earlier in the morning. Many successful entrepreneurs will tell you that their day starts an hour or 2 before everyone else. If you're getting up at 7 or 8 a.m. and you always feel like you never have enough time to get anything done, try getting up at 5. Get up an hour or 2 before the kids. Get up, read, meditate, which we'll talk about in a second. Or get some work done before the kids get up or the clients start calling, or you have to go do whatever it is that you have to do for your day. That extra hour or 2 can dramatically change your outlook. Now, it's not about getting less sleep by getting up earlier. It's about getting that solid 7 to 8 hours of sleep by conquering sleep, getting a good amount of sleep, and then getting up earlier to get more done. Eat better. I mean, this is pretty straightforward. If you're always eating junk food and you're always drinking sodas, those aren't going to lead to a healthy lifestyle. And without a healthy lifestyle, anxiety and depression are going to be prevalent. Exercise, 20 minutes a day, if possible. Let me take the if possible back. You need to exercise 20 minutes a day. The cardiovascular type of exercise that gets the blood flowing. If you can break a little bit of a sweat, it's going to go a long ways towards dealing with anxiety and stress and depression. I've often felt personally that the voices are the quietest when I'm in flow and exercise. So if I'm running and I've got music on, I can keep my mind clear and have a good run, break a little bit of a sweat, and it helps quite a bit. Clean up around yourself is number 5. It is hard to find a path towards alleviating anxiety if every time you walk into your office, there's 50 piles and you don't know what 49 of them are. That's going to create anxiety, even if it's a subconscious anxiety. The same thing with your house. If you're going into a messy room with clothes all over the place, or the kids' toys are all over, make it a concentrated effort to keep your environment as clean as possible so that you can lower your overall anxiety. I live in Northeast Ohio. It's 30 degrees outside, and that's actually kind of high for January. But getting out into nature is really important. Nature is a natural healer. Just going and sitting outside, going for walks outside. If you're in a city, finding a park that you can go to. These, again, are things that if you just Googled how to deal with anxiety or deal with the depression, this is going to be the answer that you get on every website. But these are the things that I've tried to work for me. I've really found that in the last year, I've really enjoyed going to what are called old forest parks. There are 7 of them in the state of Ohio. We just went down to one in South Carolina. They're all over the country, and they're places where there's really old trees. And it might make me sound like a nerd, but when you go stand next to a 400 or 500-year-old tree, you kind of get a sense of how insignificant the actions of today are relative to the fact that that tree has been there for 400, 500 years, and it continues to grow through rainstorms, lightning, thunderstorms, tornadoes, blizzards, all of those different things. This tree survives, or these trees. It kind of gives you the feeling that you can survive anything as well. Number 7, and this has been a big one for me in the last year, is take a break from social media. Very little good comes from social media unless it's being used for business. There's too much of comparing yourself to others. There is too much of creating a false sense of reality in order to appear a certain way in front of others. You're almost cultivating an artificial life that you then create a self-fulfilling prophecy to that you can't fulfill. And that creates an amazing amount of stress and is a huge cause of depression. It's amazing that when you shut it off for 3 months or 6 months and you just don't look anymore, how none of the things that you were reading before seem to pop into your head again. They're just gone. You just don't care anymore. So take a break from social media. Number 8, try something new. Especially now, we're coming into a new year. Everyone's got their New Year's resolutions, which, by the way, I don't do. Well, there's a different video on that. I don't believe in those. But trying something new. If you're not a reader, try reading. If you're not a runner, try running. If you watch too much TV, try not watching TV. Like maybe sometimes doing something new is stopping doing something that you've been doing. Number 9, take a break from drinking or drugs. I've been sober for 6 years now, and I feel like although it has been not necessarily a smooth path, my sobriety, life is a lot easier, and there's a lot less anxiety and depression, mostly because the majority of the stupid things I've done in my life were done while I was drinking, and I just don't do those anymore. And I bought back a lot of my time because I'm not waking up with hangovers or trying to undo things that I did the night before. So give it a break just for a little bit and see if you can get your anxiety and depression under control. Number 10, talk to someone, a professional. They're out there. If you're struggling to find ways to deal with anxiety and depression on your own, the sooner you reach out to someone, the better. There's trained professionals that can talk you through what it is that's going on in your mind. I've definitely taken advantage of this over time. And if I was to try to articulate one of the major lessons that I've learned from talking with professionals and working on this for so many years on my own is kind of the difference between what and why. And it's kind of a pretense, post-tense conversation in that a lot of times when you, like, let's say you tell your significant other, or your spouse, or a friend or family member that you feel depressed, they often ask, why do you feel that way? Or what's causing you to feel this way? And often it's really hard for someone to pinpoint what it is because it's typically multiple things. It's typically subconsciously, and most often it's things that we just don't accept, like social media being a major cause of depression. But when you change it from that pretense to that, or I'm sorry, from that post tense to that pretense, you start to ask yourself questions like, what do I need to do differently in order to not have anxiety or to not be as depressed? Or what is it that's missing in my life? What's missing in my professional life? What's missing in my relationship? What's missing with my children, my job, whatever it is? But there's typically something that's missing. It could be a sense of fulfillment. It could be a sense of excitement. When you define it, you have a better chance of being able to deal with it. So those are the 10 core things that you will find everywhere. Now I want to go into 4 that to me are a little bit, might be outside of the norm, might not be for you, but they've worked for me. I'm going to share 4 links. There's no affiliate programs in here. There's nothing for sale in this video, so I have no pretense of what I'm trying to accomplish. So the first one is I had started doing vitamin D injections about 6 months ago. Now it does take a doctor's prescription, and you get a little vial like this, and you do have to inject it with a syringe like this. And I do 0.5 milliliters every 2 weeks. I'm supposed to do it every week, but I only have 1 kidney, so I have to be careful with how much I take. But it has worked wonders for me. Many people that live in the northeastern part of the United States who don't get a lot of sun have vitamin D deficiencies. And again, I think I said you have to have a prescription to do this. There's a link here to this Vitastir. I've been ordering from them for 6 months, but can't say the name. You can get the link below this video. They will get you a teleconference with the doctor. They'll go over some of your medical record stuff. I highly recommend having blood work done to make sure that you do have some type of deficiency, even if you're not in the deficient category, that you are a little bit low on it before you go injecting yourself with high concentrated vitamins. The reason that I do the injections is I don't believe that most pills that we take have any real value, vitamins that is. Vitamin D helps to limit the lows of depression. I'm not going to get into the chemical process in the brain because I'd be lying to you if I thought that I could accurately articulate exactly what it does. But I found personally that when I look at the highs and lows, that vitamin D has put a cap on the lows, and the longer that I do it and the more that I do these other things I'm about to talk about, the less prone I am to get really, really low. And when you can cut off the lows, you tend to be able to stay more at that common thread of activity in the brain and in your emotions, and you're able to better participate in life by cutting out those lows. The next one is that has been huge for me is Transcendental Meditation. I've been meditating since I was probably 16 years old, so we're going on 25 years. But in finding Transcendental Meditation, going through the 4-day course, and getting my mantra, I found a process for inner peace that has really been significant in my dealing with anxiety and depression. And I can honestly say that when I get out of my practice for more than a couple days, my anxiety levels skyrocket, and anxiety is a forecaster of depression for me typically. So Transcendental Meditation, you do 20 minutes 2 times a day. And really for the entrepreneur or the person dealing with monkey brain, it gives you that moment to process and release many of the small thoughts that are in your brain so that you can come out clear and that you can focus in on the bigger picture of things. And if you're struggling with personal relationships, either with your family or with your children, Transcendental Meditation can get a lot of the thoughts out of your head and out of the way so that you're clear and able to communicate more properly with those around you or your employees or your employer, your partners. Just getting that clear vision of where you're going and eliminating a lot of the distraction and the noise can really help. So Transcendental Meditation, tm.org. Definitely check it out. If you've never been a meditator, it's something that you should highly consider. Now, getting into a little bit more far-reaching is transcranial magnetic stimulation by Fisher-Wallace. And yes, that means that I have a little device here and nodes that go on my temples, and I turn it on, and it uses electric pulses to stimulate serotonin development in the brain. And what I found is that doing this just once a day, I've practiced both inside of my transcendental meditation and outside of it. And I've actually found that I don't want to interrupt the pure practice of transcendental meditation. So doing this typically before will create a higher, I always try when I do content for people to not make things up that aren't scientifically proven in some semblance. So let me just give like an asterisk to this, that it increases my brainwave frequency in a positive element so that I can go into my meditation with a more positive mindset. The science behind doing that, I would check out the fisherwallace.com website. This is actually FDA approved. The VA uses this to deal with PTSD. It is like if you're injecting yourself with vitamins, okay, meditating, that's kind of commonly accepted. Electromagnetic or transcranial magnetic stimulation, TMS, might be a little bit outside of the norm, but hey, it works for me. So I'm sharing it with you. The last thing is something that I have done and will continue to do, and that is taking advantage of retreats. Whether you do solo retreats or you do group retreats, my favorite place to go is Sedona, Arizona. I've worked with Sedona Soul Adventures out there who will help you craft a 2-day, 3-day, 4-day, 1 week, 2-week journey where you'll meet different practitioners a couple times a day to take you through processes that will help you to deal with what you're dealing with. Nerves, anxiety, depression, stress, PTSD, relationship problems. You can go with your significant other if you need to. But retreats are a way of detaching from your everyday life and injecting treatments that are specifically designed to help you overcome certain situations. And the reason that I say it exactly like that is that part of the time I will spend climbing up into the mountains, meditating, or just being in nature, getting that physical activity. But the other part of the time, the other half of the time, is spent with professionals who have worked with hundreds, if not thousands, of individuals that are struggling with the same things you're struggling with and can help you to find your path towards peace, which is really what I want to say we're all searching for, but what we all need in our life. I'll close this video by saying that if you're searching for happiness, it's kind of a fool's errand. You have to stop and accept that you are happy given your current environment. And in that acceptance, you will find peace. But it's not until that you accept happiness in your current environment that you will be graced by its presence, or else you'll continue to search your entire life, never fully coming into yourself. And I don't want that for you. So take some time, look at the notes below. I'll outline the 10 most common treatments or practices for anxiety or depression, as well as the 4 that I found that work best for me that are kind of outside the norm. As always, my cell phone number is below this video. Feel free to text me. Please don't call. I won't answer. Plus the voicemail's turned off. So just text me. I will have a conversation with you. And if we need to, we'll hop on a call. We'll work through this. I want you to find inner peace. I want you to accept the happiness that's already in your life. Most importantly, I don't want you to deal with anxiety and depression. I have battled with it much of my adult life and feel that I'm at a point where sharing this content and what it's done for me will provide value to you. So I'm rooting for you. Peace.